What's going on, guys? Double Axis podcast number 10. I'm running on fumes this week. What about you, Dave?
Yeah, me too. I can't feel my legs.
I was feeling sorry for myself about my overtime this week, but you said that you had like 12 hours, so you blew me out of the water, so appreciate you being here again. Was work hard to come back to after being off?
Yeah, it definitely was, especially this week was pretty busy week at work, so.
What was the big pickup, do you think?
What do you mean, like why it picked up?
Yeah.
It just always is, because like I drive over in Paris, so I'm like one of the only Paris drivers. There's some people that go over Paris, but it's just awful all the time.
How many stops do you do a day?
Anywhere from 8 to 11, somewhere around there.
And then you gotta unload every stop. Sounds like fun. I just put a lot of miles on. We have one person off, so I kind of got to fill in for two territories, my own and theirs, and so that makes it makes a lot of running, and it was real fun. But I was supposed to be off today, and corporate America and the beautiful place that it is. If you take a personal day, you don't get paid your overtime rates for the other days if you worked overtime. So I made the tough decision. Just forget it. I'll just work today and I can get my overtime rates, because otherwise I'd just be making regular time for all that overtime. So
yeah, gotta do what you gotta do sometimes.
Unfortunately. So what you got up first?
First, let's go ahead and break into the NFL stuff this week. What's your opinion on the Players Union and the Goodell meetings?
I think the owners are probably pushing back pretty hard at this point. Viewership's so far down that I think that they're really starting to take notice with it. I think that I would say that they probably had something to say about it this week, for sure. They eventually decided that, I guess Roger Goodell suggested that they should stand, but didn't necessarily say you have to stand. And, we've talked about it several times. I really don't know what the answer is, but I did notice that in the NBA the other night that nobody took a knee, and that Charles Barkley went ahead and said basically what we had said initially was, everybody should be standing or if they do kneel, then they should be telling you what they're kneeling for, what their cause is, and they should be going out and advocating for these causes, because they're in the top, basically 1% of wealth in America. They have the platform and they have the money and the ability to be an advocate for all this stuff. So I thought it was a good moment for the NBA. I think that I think we're at the back end of the story, don't you? I think it's kind of dying down.
Yeah, I think so. I kind of hope so. And then, I'm tired of hearing like sports radio all day, every day. But it's starting to die down, like you said.
Yeah. And I think that ownership and the NFL is kind of getting in these channels' ears and saying, hey, you might not want to show this, because I haven't noticed as much of it being shown on TV.
Yeah,
I know that there's still some guys that are going to take a knee no matter what, or just sit on the bench or whatever it may be. But it doesn't seem like that they're showing it like they were, because I think that they're like, oh, it's big news, it's a big story, but they didn't realize that they're actually hurting themselves on the ratings.
I wonder if it's some kind of political spin about the ratings, because football still dominates in the top 20 views every week. Maybe too, it's part of everything's down with cable subscriptions going down. We got Evil DirecTV or Evil Spectrum. You got to choose from either one of those to watch.
It's been a long time DirecTV sponsored. I'm sorry, a long time DirecTV. just in case you want anybody to sponsor. But that could be it too. I just think it's the quality of the games that have been put on. I really haven't had any interest in a lot of the games that are being put on. We talked about that as well.
Yeah.
I do think that there's some people that just aren't going to watch just because they're protesting the NFL. And I understand that, and who am I to judge or to say that they're right or wrong? But I just think that some people just aren't going to watch this year. And I think that some of us other fans, like, if I don't have Red Zone channel, it's just not football just isn't as fun to me, but I don't want to pay a lot of money for red zone at the same time. So I just haven't watched the games as religiously as I would if I had the red zone. So
yeah, Sundays I just sit around, just doing nothing, just watching football all day, just zoning out. Still, I've watched a lot of good games, but last Sunday I watched probably the worst game I've ever seen. It was the Browns and Texans game.
Yeah, why do you think they keep putting those games on television? I mean, you've got some pretty big marquee matchups. Is it just because they're kind of the local team, so to speak?
I guess so. Probably too. The Texans are a pretty popular team, but maybe not around here. I guess the Browns. Browns are a real popular team. That's further up north too. So
I just don't understand when you have in the 1 o'clock slot you have legit playoff teams and champions playing and they're playing.
You're watching the Browns.
Doesn't make any sense.
Texans.
And that game was over in the first quarter.
Yeah.
And I think the other game was, I don't even remember what the other game was.
The Packers game was at 1, I think.
Yeah, and see, that one makes a little bit more sense because Packers are kind of closer to a nationwide team.
Yeah.
But I just never understood why they wouldn't show the Patriots or some other dominant team in that slot, and that's probably goes to say a lot of why the ratings are down as well, because I don't want to watch the Browns play. So.
I mean, it's a good time for you to reevaluate your life and your choices you've made and how you got to where you're at.
Which I've tried to talk to you about every week since we've been doing this podcast. Being a Browns fan.
I wonder what movies are on Netflix.
For sure.
But talking about the Packers game briefly, Aaron Rodgers, we talked about it earlier, he's on the injured reserve.
Yeah.
That's got to destroy the Packers.
I don't know, man. They always seem to hang in there and stay at good enough clip to be able to make the playoffs, but you kind of got Minnesota on the rise.
Yeah.
And I think that Teddy Bridgewater is going to be back sooner rather than later. I'm not so sure that Sam Bradford will ever be back to normal. I kind of heard rumblings that it may be a career-ending injury that he has with his knee, and you can tell the other night when they were on primetime he just wasn't right. And Keenum's doing
Keenum's a decent
job,
replacement quarterback, definitely.
I feel like that the Packers will really take off when they get Teddy Bridgewater back, and I hope he comes back because that was an awful injury. And he was kind of on the upswing himself with the team. So
I mean, that Super Bowl is pretty much theirs for the taking. Besides, you would say the Patriots probably, and Packers.
Super Bowl for the Vikings?
Packers.
Oh.
I mean, they were up there favorites. I mean, a lot of people would say Patriots, Steelers, and all these teams.
I don't see them. I mean, I think that the Packers are always kind of an overrated team. I don't think they obviously have one of the easiest schedules, but they get a lot of kind of layup games. And I think the Cowboys, depending on how it works with Elliott, they're going to be better in the playoffs. And I don't see any way that they could beat Atlanta right now, even though Atlanta's offense is terrible right now.
Yeah, Atlanta.
Julio Jones doesn't have one touchdown all year.
Yeah.
Think about that.
That's crazy. He's due. Hopefully it's not whenever I play against him.
I guess Amari Cooper was due too.
Yeah.
So he got his uptick. So
he had a really good game.
And talking about fantasy, that's something that I wanted to hit on big time, especially with wide receivers, because the conversation that Jerry and I had about our teams and our mindsets. This was one of the first in a few weeks that I actually started 3 wide receivers, because Carlos Hyde was he may be losing some reps. So I really wasn't sure what to do with him. And I had T.Y. Hilton, Michael Thomas, and Chris Hogan, who came off pretty good games. So I started all 3 of those guys at Carlos Hyde, and those 3 guys together had a combined 3 points, 1 point apiece in non-PPR league. And so I just feel like, I was like, man, there you go. That's the last time I'll ever do that. I would rather start a running back that's off the
that's guaranteed to get
Latavius Murray, I picked him up off the waiver wire. Kind of talking about the Vikings, I picked him up off the waiver wire because I thought that he might get some more run now with Dalvin Cook out. And he had 2 points. So
you picked him up and I picked McKinnon up.
Yeah, that was obviously a better decision for you.
But, McKinnon, last year he had a few good games, and the year before he had a few good games.
He definitely showed some flashes, and I think it helps him. I think it helps him having Murray in for the early downs, and then they put him in. He's kind of a change of pace guy. He can catch passes out of the backfield. But yeah, from now on it's definitely running backs. I'll be plugging Carlos Hyde back in, and I don't even want to start 2 wide receivers, to be honest with you.
I've never started. I've never started 3. Well, I think I may have last year, but the roster I have this year, I could definitely start 3. I have Kelvin Benjamin, Devontae Adams, and Mike Evans. So I have 3 good wide receivers.
The same thing because all 3 of my guys are all in the top 10.
Yeah.
And I thought, hey, I could put these guys in. Chris Hogan had like 4 touchdowns in consecutive weeks. And, he comes out with a 1-point performance. And Michael Thomas has what looks like on paper great matchups. And, how many points did the Saints put up? 50-something points. And yet he got 1 point by Michael Thomas. I mean, it was sad. It was depressing.
So. Yeah. I had Bennett as my tight end, Devontae Adams as my wide receiver. And I guess all that's going to hurt me with Aaron Rodgers being out, I mean, Devontae Adams may still get his touchdowns, but Bennett's definitely...
It's hard. I mean, he definitely lifts a lot of those people. I still scored up almost 100 points, and it didn't matter anyway because the dude I was playing had a...
He throws up 150 points every
163 points, so it was just... I mean, it was like a career week. Everything went right for him, and obviously not everything went right for me. But, and also, I'm thinking that I made a mistake by wasting a draft pick on Andrew Luck at this point. I felt like he was going to start probably week 4 or 5 initially, and it doesn't look like he's going to play at all this year. He got another shot this week and got shut down from practice. And I don't know why they would bring him back just unless... I mean, they're only 1 game out right now, 2 games out right now. But, I just don't see a need for it. I would shut him down if I were the Colts.
Yeah, I agree with you. We've seen what... guys, especially Andrew Luck, what their performance is when they play through an injury like that.
Yeah, he didn't play through it last year, and towards the end of the year before that, I think he was kind of banged up. But I think that they've got some promising talent with Mack in the backfield, kind of taking the spot of Gore, and perhaps if they're able to use a early draft pick on kind of shoring the lineup, or even possibly if there's a game-changing running back there, and then trying to get a lineman in the 2nd and 3rd round, that could definitely help their playoff chances out, because that division is just, even though the Jaguars seem like they're getting better and Fournette seems like he's an elite player, Jaguars still don't have a elite quarterback.
Yeah.
So that division's kind of
change soon, though.
Ultimate. Well,
you never know.
And Houston with Deshaun Watson, they look pretty good, but their record's still 3-3.
Yeah.
There's a lot of. It could be one of the most exciting divisions of football if the Jaguars get a good quarterback, and the Colts kind of sure up a couple of their pitfalls. So. Yeah,
I agree with that. And talking about last night's game, do you have anything else to add about on fantasy?
I don't think so, man. I'm just I'm hoping for a better week this week. I'm pretty torn up about Luck not coming back. I was fortunate enough to grab Alex Smith, which he had almost 40 last night on my bench. I was fortunate enough to have Alex Smith back, and then next week I've got my big bye week where I'm missing Brady, Melvin Gordon, and Chris Hogan, which Melvin Gordon and Tom Brady are my 2 best players. So
yeah,
ought to be interesting.
Yeah, I'm on the up finally. Won 2 games in a row. My 2 games. Hopefully make it a 3rd this week playing Parker. So. But you never know.
No names. No, everybody's gonna know who we've been talking about all this time. That's a crazy decision. He had a mark.
I didn't say anything about that. 33 points in our league on the bench. That's got to be awful. But I mean, really, the guy who traded to him, I don't think he'd been starting him for like the last couple weeks either. He hasn't done anything this season.
Really rough run.
Yeah. But Derek Carr back and healthy, and
I don't know if he's healthy.
Yeah.
Probably get some shots to help him along with that, I would say. But I mean, he's definitely an elite type wide receiver, and I mean, it's going to be up and down. Like we talked about, Julio Jones didn't even have a single touchdown. How early did he go? He had to go in the 1st round.
He was top 5 player
every league.
Yeah.
And I'll never ever spend a draft pick on wide receiver that high. Never.
I would have taken Julio Jones if I had the chance to then.
I mean, that's definitely
He helped me out last year. When I think like 10 games in fantasy. It was like 10-3 or something.
I'm just a guy that I want to know that I want to know that my top 5 pick is going to get the volume, so I'd rather have a quarterback running
Yeah.
for sure. You know, and I probably would have taken David Johnson if I had the choice of anybody, and that would have got me anywhere this year. So, you know, I guess having Julio Jones out there, even though he's underperforming, is better than having David Johnson injured. So you wanting to talk about last night's game?
Yeah, we've talked about it a little bit, but Marshawn Lynch incident with, you know, he got kicked out of the game, and what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think it's just Marshawn being Marshawn. I used to say kind of Manny being Manny, and I just feel like it's just him being Marshawn. I mean, I didn't watch the game. I did see the incident. I did read stuff about it on Twitter. They said he was actually going out there, I guess, to assist Marcus Peters. Is that right? Because they're like it's his cousin or something like that. I don't know. I mean, it's just unfortunate. I think that the Raiders, to me, I would not have made that gamble and picked him up. I would have just let him, you know, go somewhere else, because I think the Raiders, you know, for the last couple of years have been on the cusp of, you know, being a really good potential late run playoff team, and he's, I mean, crazily underperforming. If you look at his stats, they're awful. And, you know, people were taking him really high.
Yeah, I was going to say, people took him really high, and I didn't want to touch that.
There's no way. And I just think that I'm hoping that because of performance and then along with this, I mean, he's all to get suspended for a game.
I think he already got suspended, but I can't remember how long. I think it was a game, maybe.
Yeah, I didn't. Earlier this afternoon, I heard that there was, I mean, a definite fine, without a doubt, and then possible suspension. So I hadn't heard if that had been updated. But, you know, it could be a really good chance for Oakland to put some of their younger running backs in and see what they got. I mean, I saw that Washington scored a touchdown after he went out. So.
He's a pretty decent running back, too.
I just don't understand why you would, you know, trade Latavius Murray or, you know, or let him walk. I can't remember if I just didn't sign him or they let him walk. And then you would take on Marshawn. And I mean, Latavius Murray has been pretty solid for you for the last couple of years. Shouldn't make any sense to me. Why?
The other thing about Marshawn Lynch is, you know, he's got a history of good work, and he's still fairly young.
I didn't think you were going that way with it. I mean, yeah, he has a good history of work, but it's been in specific systems, you know. And everywhere that he's went, he's kind of burned bridges. I mean, I don't know. We talked about the off-field stuff compared to the on-field stuff, and you know, to me, it just wouldn't be worth the off-field stuff, all the distractions, and kind of dealing with him being himself.
Yeah, he's definitely got a strange personality.
I mean, if you're a not good team, and you had a spot, I could see you throw him in there and getting the publicity and selling some jerseys and stuff like that. But for the Raiders, I didn't really understand that decision. So.
On a separate note, have you ever seen the Bear Grylls TV show with Marshawn Lynch?
I watched that episode.
Yeah, that was actually that was great TV.
Yeah, one of my wife's friends was in from the Seattle area, and she's like, "Oh, I love Marshawn," so we had to sit there and watch.
And he's like sneaking off with a candy.
Yeah.
Next up, we'll kind of switch back to quarterbacks. RG3 and Colin Kaepernick. You know, neither of those guys have jobs, and I don't know if you want to kind of give your take on it.
In the players' meetings of the day, or maybe right after the players' meetings, I saw that Michael Bennett had stood up and talked, and he said if we want to start any type of negotiations, I guess, between the ownership and the players, you know, with, I guess, in relation to sitting down and protesting, then Colin Kaepernick has to have a job. And I was like, what? It's the weirdest, you know, thing ever, especially with all the trouble he had in Vegas and all that stuff kind of unraveling on him. But I was thinking, you know, I've with doing the show, I try to pay a little bit closer attention to social media, and I see RG3 putting out positive stuff on Twitter all the time. I mean, he's just so positive. He's sending nice notes to people. There's nothing negative about him whatsoever. And I'm sitting here thinking, why aren't people kind of going out and speaking for him to get a job? Because it didn't really make sense. You know, it was more injury related than performance or anything else.
Yeah, he's got bones made of glass. That's probably why.
He's the villain
Mr.
off
Glass.
Unbreakable.
Yeah.
But I just don't understand why people aren't going out and fighting for him. And so I actually pulled up the stats, and I just wanted to kind of go over those a little bit. It's actually, Colin Kaepernick has 6 seasons to RG3's 4. RG3 was actually in the league for 5, but there was one season they didn't play because of injury. But Kaepernick has 12,271 yards, 72 touchdowns, 30 interceptions, and an 88.9 passer rating. And I figured that since we're comparing both of those, we probably should talk about the rushing. And so he has 2,300 rushing yards with 13 touchdowns and 21 fumbles. That's Kaepernick. So RG3 has 8,900 passing yards, 42 touchdowns, 88.4 rating, 26 interceptions, 1,670 yards rushing, 10 touchdowns, and only 2 fumbles. So I feel like that there's a pretty good argument there. You know, all these people want to go out and advocate for Kaepernick, who we've talked about being a polarizing figure one way or the other. I feel like RG3 is polarizing for almost the opposite reason, kind of Tebow-esque. And so I just don't understand why people are advocating for one of the guys and not the other. And Kaepernick's 29 years old and RG3's only 27.
I'm a huge RG3 fan, but you know, if I had the choice of the two, I'd pick Kaepernick just because
why though?
The injury reasons. RG3 can't, I don't think he's physically able to play a whole NFL season anymore. I mean, I don't think last year he may have played 3 or 4 games. I think maybe 3.
But Kaepernick,
maybe 2 solid games. I can't remember the exact amount.
Towards the end part of that last year, he had to have thumb surgery, so he was out for a little time too.
But thumbs are a lot different than, you know,
our knees and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that very well may be the case. You know, with all the baggage and everything that goes with both of them, I would definitely like to see RG3 get a shot. And I'm not saying that I would start a franchise with either one of these guys. I mean, that would be...
That's kind of picking your poison.
Yeah, but I do think that I think that if they both got a fair shake, then it would be much better. I'm not sure that the owners are actually cutting either one of them out. I just think that, like you said, there's a lot of baggage and stuff that goes along with having a former starting star quarterback sit in the bench.
RG3's Heisman winner. He had that great rookie season. No one's ever seen anything like that. I mean,
there's no reason that RG3 shouldn't still be on the Browns.
I just think he only signed a 1-year contract.
I know, but I mean,
they're just like,
you're gonna take Hogan and I understand Kyle, they drafted him, but who's they just promoted the 3rd string guy, Cody Kessler.
Yeah.
So I just don't understand why everybody wants to argue for Kaepernick, and there's other guys out there that kind of has similar situations and nobody's fighting for them, and with being such a positive guy and putting so much positive love out there on social media as opposed to more of a negative. Everything with Kaepernick kind of goes negative, it seems like. So I just don't understand it.
I don't think Kaepernick's, definitely looking for a response whenever, he's wearing the socks and kneeling. But, most of his things, I guess, the responses are negative. So I guess maybe he's putting it out there as that. But, I don't know. I don't know why. I still think he should be on a team, but there's those reports that, like, the Ravens wanted him and then he didn't want to negotiate with them, or I can't remember exactly the story.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that, but that figures.
Yeah. But, I don't know. So,
we're probably just beating a dead horse at this point. Yeah. But I just thought it was, I was going through, Twitter this weekend, and I just saw several things that RG3 had put on there, and I was like, man, this dude is so positive. And I knew that they had to have similar stat lines. And
yeah. Even when, he was out all year, he was still, a vocal leader, for the Browns last year,
And he didn't play bad when he was in the
he didn't play bad.
He just, like you said, he's got bones made of glass.
Johnny Manziel didn't play bad either, so let's ask him
about that. Let's just skip past the Manziel.
We'll save that for next episode.
Yeah, we can talk about that with Gross and see what he has to say about that.
So, is there anything else you wanted to add in the NFL?
No. I think we pretty well covered it. I mean, I guess we'll see how the games play out this weekend. I'm probably not going to get to see a whole bunch of them, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But
yeah. Well, NFL guys, we're talking about Greg Hardy and his transition to MMA.
Yeah, so I saw a tweet that Greg Hardy was transitioning to MMA and going to take an amateur fight. So I thought that was pretty interesting, maybe worth talking about it because, unlike Kaepernick or RG3, this guy seems to be out of the league because he's just a genuine bad guy.
He's evil.
I don't think Kaepernick is a bad guy. I just think that a lot of the arguments with him turn negative. I think he does a lot of good. Let me clarify that. And it seems like RG3 is the same way. So those actually seem to be pretty good guys that just are out of the NFL for one reason or another. And they're not kind of on the Ray Rice and Hardy side of things. But yeah, just really interesting. I mean, he's. A lot of former NFL guys have pretty successfully transitioned into the heavyweight divisions of MMA. Quite a few of them have been pretty successful. So, I mean, I'm sure as far as athleticism and stuff, he's definitely got the right tools to transition. I don't know, how he will go with coaching and things like that. He doesn't seem to be the most coachable guy in the NFL, so I can't imagine him being any different in MMA. But, I mean, it's just going to put a giant target on his head. Everybody's going to be gunning for him. But I'm sure he'll probably win fights just from being more athletic than people and from having the benefit of coming from the side of professional athletes versus a lot of these guys are just going to be, doing the 9 to 5, working the overtime and stuff like we're talking about, and training on the side and trying to make a living or follow a dream by doing MMA. But I'm going to put a giant target on his head, and I'm sure if he wins a couple fights, then there'll probably be some organizations that come knocking. I'm not sure how well he will be received in some of the bigger organizations, but he might make it. He might make it, and then he'll figure out that MMA is probably not the path that he wanted to go because he'll probably get the break speed off him. So.
Athleticism only gets you so far.
It definitely does. And
children.
Yeah, it definitely does. It'll get him pretty far. I mean, athleticism, he'll be elite athlete, transitioned over, and he's probably got the benefit of nutrition and training and all the other things, a leg up on people. But once he gets to the pro ranks, it'll be a different story. He can't be that young either, right?
I don't know. I have no clue.
He's probably pushing 30.
I'd say that's probably about right.
Yeah, so.
Has he been in the league for 2 years now? Or has it been 3?
No, it hasn't been that long.
I don't know. I think it's been at least 2.
Yeah, I think this is just the second year because he played for the Cowboys and then got a suspension again. I don't remember what it's for though. Was it PDs or something?
It was still for beating up the woman, wasn't it?
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Interesting. It seems to be going on with the Cowboys a lot lately.
We'll go into. You got some opinions today on Mark Hunt.
Yeah, did you actually read anything about it?
No, I didn't. I didn't read anything about it.
So Mark Hunt did an interview with a magazine, and he was talking about basically his fear of having lifelong altering injuries, which we've kind of touched on a little bit. I'm interested to see where these experiments and analysis with CTE goes, and if it ever transitions to MMA. But he was talking about having like short-term memory issues and headaches and blurred vision and all kinds of crazy stuff, and then he flies off the handle for the UFC, remove him from the card. Now granted, they did take a little bit of time to do it, but basically what I read was they weren't aware of it. It was he lives like in the Australia area,
yeah.
So I don't think that they're probably reading those type of magazines, but when they were made aware of it, they pulled him off the card, which I think that they had to do. I mean, for liability reasons, if I read one of my fighters was having these type of issues, I would be pulling him off the card and doing some extra tests. He said that he passed all the medical tests, but I mean, how generic are they? How baseline are they? I mean, he probably needs a little bit higher grade test to make sure that there's nothing going on with his vision or his brain or whatever else.
Yeah.
Because he has been through wars, and not only kickboxing, but MMA as well. So, you know, I think we've reached the age of awakening for MMA as well, and I think that there could be some more issues with this moving forward for guys that make these type of comments. I think they'll probably guard them from everybody else in the UFC. Maybe even have to look into doing a little bit deeper testing before these guys actually hit the ring. So, because there's, you know, quite a few instances that I can pull off the top of my head where guys have had some type of concussion in their training camp, and then they've got knocked out really bad in the fight, and it's because they didn't divulge that obviously that they got knocked out.
Yeah.
Forrest Griffin versus Anderson Silva and Marvin Eastman. I think it was when he fought Vitor Belfort, and those guys had concussions, and I think Eastman said that he wasn't aware that he had a concussion, which, I mean, I guess is feasible.
Yeah.
But if you get knocked out cold in your training camp, you probably shouldn't be in the fight. So
Yeah.
probably not a good thing. So.
No, not at all. You want to give an update on UFC 215, 216?
Yeah, I heard an interesting stat that they were the lowest rated pay-per-view since UFC 41 and 42. So we had talked about the ratings and how they were so low, but that was kind of mind-boggling to me. That's basically when the first UFC pay-per-view that I ever watched was UFC 40. I had to get the tapes and stuff before that, but the first one I actually paid for was UFC 40, which is Ken Shamrock versus Tito Ortiz. So we paid for that one. I didn't pay for 41 or 42, so maybe there's some people like me that, they scraped together as many friends as they could and talked their mom and dads into getting it. But I thought that was pretty mind-boggling, and maybe stats like that will kind of snap the UFC out of it and make them put a little bit better cards together like we have been talking about in the past couple of weeks. UFC 217's obviously a stacked card, which we'll break down on the next edition with Jeremy Gross. But just some pretty staggering numbers there that I think hopefully will maybe wake up the UFC and make some changes here.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say maybe it has something to do with cable, subscriptions too, but then
Bro, you can't use that for everything.
Yeah, it's just going to be have a catchphrase, be like, Spectrum is evil.
They've had a lot of problems lately.
Yeah. We got next. Do you want to talk about Bellator 185?
Yeah, card, unlike some of the other Bellator cards that they've had on lately, it's not exactly a stacked card. Heather Hardy is on the card, which she's the lady that was on the undercard. I remember they were talking about her beating up the soccer mom.
Yeah.
So she's the boxer from the undercard that night. She's fighting again, which she's been getting quite a bit of publicity lately. But it's the other lady I'm not familiar with. So basically, you're just kind of watching for the main event, which is Mousasi versus Shlemenko. Shlemenko is a former champion, and then Mousasi is, of course, transitioning from the UFC. So it's a pretty interesting matchup. I've heard a lot of opinions one way or the other, but I'm just interested to see how Mousasi transitions to Bellator, because it seems like a lot of the UFC guys lately haven't really made the transition very well. Lorenzo Larkin's now 0-2 in Bellator since moving over. So that was a pretty, highly touted recruit that they got into Bellator, and I think Mousasi's along the lines of the same. He was pretty much perennial knock-on title there for the UFC. So really interesting to see how it plays out. I feel like Mousasi can probably dictate where the fight goes. Shlemenko's got some pretty nasty knockouts, but then again, so does Mousasi. I feel like Mousasi's the bigger, taller, longer fighter. Probably can keep him on the outside and just try to put multiple shots together, where Shlemenko's probably going to be trying to get in close and put that one knockout shot on him. So should be a really interesting, entertaining fight. It's actually on the 9th. So I'll probably be maybe watching it. I got to get up super early in the morning, so definitely recording it and checking that out, and we'll break it down on the next edition. But should be a really interesting fight with some title implications for the 185 pound belt. I suspect that the winner of this fight will probably get a title shot. So
next, you want to talk about the UFC Fight Night 118?
Yeah. It's on Fight Pass, so you can't blame the can't blame the evil
subscriptions.
Cable company. Cerrone versus Till is the main event. Pretty much like Bellator 185. There's not a lot of cards on the or a lot of good fights on the undercard. Pretty interesting matchup. Till's 12-0, and then Cerrone's coming off 2 losses back to back. Definitely feel like it's a really interesting fight with 2 guys that are kind of on opposite ends of their fight career. Cerrone got so close to the title, and then eventually fought for the title at 55 and lost, and then came up to 70 and was on a pretty good tear that kind of got derailed by Masvidal, and then he lost a close decision to Robbie Lawler. So I feel like that he's kind of in a little bit of no man's land right now at 170 pounds. And then Till is kind of the guy that's on the rise. Like I said, 12-0. Last couple wins have been by decision. He's talking about knocking Cowboy out, but the guys that he's fought up to this point, he hasn't been knocking out. So I'm not really sure that he would be able to do that to Cerrone. They're both similar heights, similar builds, so it should be a pretty entertaining fight. Cowboy seems to shine in these instances where there's not a lot of pressure and there's no title implications or anything like that. So I would say that Cerrone will probably get the job done. But it's a very dangerous fight because I'm not really sure what it accomplishes for Cerrone, because he's beating a guy that's relatively unknown on a fight card that not a lot of people are going to watch, to be honest. So I'm not really sure what it does for him, other than he just likes to stay active and is going to try to get a win, and probably can use that as a springboard to get a top contender. But it's just one of those things that I don't have Fight Pass, so I can't watch it. I would probably watch it if I had access to it, but I don't. So I'll just have to anxiously follow and see how it all breaks down. Like I said, I suspect that Cerrone will probably come away with a victory and probably have a pretty good performance coming off those 2 losses. But if he doesn't, I don't know what he does in his career from that point other than drop back down to 55, which I think he should do, because this fight is at 170 pounds. I think he's better suited for 155 pounds versus 170. So we'll see how it all shakes out, but it's definitely a dangerous fight for Cerrone, and it's one of those fights that Till can kind of make his name on if he's able to pull off an upset. So
it should be. Sounds like it'd be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
See what the outcome of it.
The age-old story of a old lion versus a new one.
Let's move over into baseball, I guess.
First time on the podcast.
Yeah.
So how are you feeling about that Astros pick?
They can still win. They're not out yet. I mean, by the time this gets uploaded, they'll probably be out.
So it's at home tonight, though, right?
Yeah, the Astros, the next 2 games are in Houston.
Okay, because they got the home field advantage. So you're still feeling good about that pick, though?
Yeah, I mean, the Astros, they have Jose Altuve, the guy can do everything. They got
don't cry on me.
Keschel and Verlander, and
Verlander's starting tonight, and he's 8-0 since he moved over to the Astros. So with those facts,
anytime you have Justin Verlander, you have a pretty decent chance of winning.
Sure.
So, I think it could go to 7, but my confidence in the Astros winning it all is kind of going down. But I don't want to see the Dodgers win the World Series.
Well, to swing off of that, I actually watched the last couple of Dodgers games. I haven't watched them complete, but I've watched excerpts of them. And, they're a really fun team to watch, in my opinion. They got a lot of young guys. They hustle hard. They put up a lot of good offense last night. I picked the Dodgers basically because I knew what they had done in the regular season, even though they had that big, long losing streak. But I knew what they had done in the regular season, and I didn't want to be like you all and pick the Astros, because I'm not sold on the Astros yet, but I didn't really expect it to play out this way. I expected it to be the Nationals, fighting for the NL title. And I think that would have been a super entertaining series, because the NL series kind of turned out to be a dud with the Dodgers pretty much.
I think everybody wants to see LA, New York, but
I think that would probably be best for baseball, and you know, baseball may siphon off some of those NFL ratings and stuff that we've been talking about.
Yeah, because like the biggest four baseball markets were the Final Four team. You got the Astros, Dodgers, Yankees, and Cubs. So like the four biggest cities are all represented.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's great for baseball.
Well, you know, one of the reasons I stopped watching baseball is just because it became so monotonous and unfun, and I really had a lot of fun watching the Dodgers games. I thought that they were a fun team to watch.
Who pitched last night? Did Kershaw pitch last night?
Kershaw pitched last night, and then
that's why the Cubs only had one run.
11 runs. Yeah. So he won the NL ERA title again.
Yeah. So they also Darvish. He's he's one of my favorites to watch. Him and Kershaw both are. But Darvish, I don't know. If he can get his pitching down a little bit, I mean, that guy is like a strikeout master. And so is Kershaw.
So how does that play out as far as do the Dodgers have home field advantage regardless, or is that still based on the All-Star game?
I think it's still based on the All-Star game, but they may have changed it this year.
Who won? Do we know?
I don't know. I didn't watch the All-Star game.
It's been a while since I watched any of it.
I watched the last All-Star game I watched was the one in Cincinnati. That was like 2 years ago.
The last full All-Star game that I watched in Home Run Derby and all was probably when they went to New York and Josh Hamilton put on that crazy home run show. It's been a while.
Last Home Run Derby I watched I watched it this year. I can't remember who won it though.
I watched the college baseball Home Run Derby and it was wildly entertaining.
Yeah, they use metal bats. Yeah, I'd say it's a lot more fun.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know, but it's still fun. The only part I don't like about the Home Run Derby is Chris Berman. I think he did it too this year. I just don't like him. I don't know. I hope you'll never watch this. Come after me.
Yeah, I don't think you have to worry about that. I don't think he's in our 50 to 75 average views.
He could be.
Well, you want to talk about your guy now?
We'll talk about Dusty Baker.
Yeah. Yeah,
just a couple hours ago, the Nationals fired Dusty Baker. We kind of talked about it before we started, but what's your take on it?
I think it was a good decision. I think that they have to follow it up by making a good decision on hiring somebody moving forward. I don't know who that would be, who would fit the bill for that, but I just don't have any confidence in Dusty Baker in the playoffs at all. I just think that he had too good of a team to lose back-to-back years in the divisional series. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
I mean, he won the division twice. I mean, that's pretty good. In those 2 years.
You have to look at the talent that you have.
Yeah.
You can't rest on your laurels. You can't be satisfied for that because that team was built for the World Series, and there's no excuse why.
But they're really not a better team on paper than let's say the rest of the teams that are in there, and it's still in the playoffs. Matching up with the Astros or Yankees or Dodgers. I mean, the Cubs on paper, they're close, but I don't know.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I just think that they, like I said, their pitching and everything was really built for this time of year.
Yeah.
And maybe it all comes down to the offense and like we were talking about leaving Jason Worth and stuff in, and maybe that's where it all comes back to, and that's where he made his mistake. But I feel like the guy's cursed, and maybe we cursed him. Maybe we cursed him and got fired. I don't know.
I would have never thought they would fire him. Like we talked about him getting fired last week, I would have said, there's no way they'll fire him. That's just my thought. I don't know.
I wouldn't have ruled it out. I'm, I guess, a little bit surprised, but I think that's what happens when you come into a season and you expect to win a World Series.
Yeah.
And, you've got to think about the implications with Bryce Harper because this is his last year coming up. And, obviously if they have won a World Series, then they have a little bit to bring to the table as far as trying to sign him to an extension. But, if you keep losing in 5 games at home in these series, then, you're not bringing much to the table. And he's looking around, he's seeing guys like Aaron Judge, in the World Series, or if they make it to the World Series, or at least farther in the playoffs than him. And, Chris Bryant's going further in the playoffs than him. Obviously he's probably going to want to make the change and go play somewhere else. So I think that factors into it as well.
And then again, Dusty Baker, he's a players manager too. I mean, they all like him, and the chemistry under his teams are pretty decent. Like the Reds, like the year after they got rid of Dusty Baker, they just fell off. They still had the same marquee names, same everything, and failed to duplicate anything they'd done before prior.
Well, I can assure you that I would say that the players had some say in this decision. I mean, I can't imagine them firing them without consulting with some of their higher end players first. But ultimately, winning cures everything. So if they're able to lock down a good manager and they're able to continue to win and perhaps go deeper in the playoffs or even ultimately win a World Series next year, it's not something that we'll be talking about. Nobody's going to be talking about feeling sorry for Dusty Baker.
Yeah, I don't feel sorry.
Can't seal the deal. Does he have any World Series titles?
No, 0.
So.
But then again, like the Cubs, after they got rid of him, I mean, it took them a long time to win the World Series. And the Giants, it took them a while too. Who knows? There's not like a whole lot of huge marquee managers out there.
Injuries and everything else. Who knows? Contracts, trades. I mean, so many things happen between now and next spring. But I feel like the Nationals feel the pressure to win. They've got the team to win, and they're going to try to do whatever they can to make it happen. Like I said, I don't know who they're going to go to now, but
yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any huge marquee names out there. I don't know though. Kind of wonder at Dusty's age if he'll even, take another job. I'm sure he could get one if he wanted to.
Probably, yeah. I mean,
but,
like I said, he's pretty high ranked and all time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just going to be a team that wants to win in the regular season. Doesn't have any aspirations on the World Series.
Like, we hadn't had a winning season in a while. I hope the Reds get him back on the phone. No, I'm just playing.
I don't see a reason why they shouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think things ended very well.
I mean, it's business.
Yeah.
It really does. So.
Any other baseball talk or anything like that?
No, that's the most baseball talk we've had. I don't think we should wear it out.
Yeah.
Because,
it's been an exciting baseball week.
We might be able to spin it into the World Series.
Yeah, next week we'll talk about the World Series.
Yeah.
Hopefully about the Astros sweeping, but we'll see. Next we'll move into, talking about exciting baseball week. It's opening week for NBA. So it's been a pretty good, sports week. I know, you and I probably really excited for the NBA to be back. You watched the very first game, and, Celtics had a lot of tough luck that game with, Gordon Hayward. You kind of want to talk into
it? So I'm having to endure we've talked about this briefly before, but I never have been a LeBron fan. LeBron left. Kyrie gets drafted to Cleveland. I start watching Cleveland. Ultimately, they get LeBron back. He kind of wins me over, blah, blah, blah. And then, Kyrie is ultimately leaving, or has left and got traded, and Boston signs Hayward. They seem to have a couple good pieces in Hayward and Horford and Kyrie. And then they've got their two guys that they've drafted, Tatum and Brown. So, I mean, they've got assembled a pretty good roster. Big hype around the game with it being Cavs Celtics opening night in Cleveland. So you got Kyrie coming back, and then just completely gets run 6 minutes in when Gordon Hayward comes down and just snaps his ankle. I mean, it was. I didn't know. I mean, I actually got a text and I was behind on TV, and I was like, man, I'm watching Gordon Hayward play right now, and then I hit fast forward and I'm like, oh.
I thought it was photoshopped and someone sent me a picture.
I was like, oh no. And so I get to the point, he breaks his leg, and I'm kind of having Paul George flashbacks at that point because I was actually on storm duty when Paul George broke his leg, and you're struggling for things to do when you're out of town in a hotel room. So I'm going back to the hotel room. Team USA's playing now, so I watch it, and then Paul George breaks his leg, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm having flashbacks of that, and I've talked a lot of crap about the Celtics being, basically, in my opinion, I thought they were going to be contender for the East. And that happens, and it derails everything. And I'm shocked that they actually stayed kind of in that game, because Kyrie's over there crying on the bench, and guys are just like freaking out. And
yeah.
You get the doctors rushing on the court. You have the stoppage of play. So, I mean, couldn't be much of a worse start. Celtics are 0-2 now. I think that they had a little bit of hangover last night from not only being the Cavs game and losing such a close game, but also having the Hayward injury and ultimately his surgery. But, you know, I talk a lot of crap about LeBron, and I genuinely don't like him as a player more than anything. And, you know, we talked about him getting a little bit political, but, you know, as bad as the NFL has had these moments, and as bad of a moment it was for Gordon Hayward and the Celtics, I thought that LeBron was very classy in kind of making sure that he knew that Hayward, or the NBA was there for Hayward, and he went back ultimately to the doctors, and I saw that Isaiah Thomas also.
Yeah, Isaiah Thomas did too.
And so I felt like it was a really good moment for the NBA wrapped up in a bad one, because you got so much bad publicity around the NFL right now. And even though the NBA started out with something really bad, you know, you have those good moments wrapped up within that. So,
yeah,
you know, terribly unfortunate. I think the East is so bad that I feel like the Celtics are still a top contender.
I think so too.
Because everybody's talking about the Wizards. I think the Wizards are just not good.
I think they're good, but they're not deep. I mean, they have.
Neither is Celtics.
Celtics are a lot deeper than the Wizards, so I think, but.
You know, everybody's kind of on the Bucks bandwagon.
Yeah, I mean, Giannis, I don't know. I'd like to see Giannis make that next step, like everybody thinks.
That would be cool. I mean, it's definitely cool, but you know, what does it do for ratings and stuff? Do you think that people will latch onto him like they did Steph Curry or Kevin Durant? Or
Most
LeBron
definitely,
James?
where he's the international guy.
You think so? You think that his international appeal?
Yeah, because I was reading about his shoe deal. I don't know what shoe deal he ultimately picked, but he was leaning towards taking a shoe deal from a shoe company in China over like Adidas and Nike
or something.
Yeah, I think that might have been it, and it was.
That's who Clay has his shoe deal.
Yeah, because he said he wanted to expand his international appeal, and he already has. Like,
well, yeah, China's huge for the NBA. I guess, but. To me, NBA is still such an American sport. I guess I hadn't thought of it that far, but I think, you know...
Yeah, European guy from Europe. He's,
it obviously benefits the NBA to have, you know, an American MVP, but you're probably right. It'll probably broaden his horizons for sure, especially over in China and stuff like that, because, you know, Kobe and those guys go over there and they're heroes. And I think they pretty much make a trip over there every year. I mean, they should. All the shoes are made over there anyway. So.
Cavs and Bucks, they play tonight, don't they?
They play tonight. Yeah.
That should be. I mean, I was going to watch that or DVR it at least if I don't get to watch it.
I don't think, even though LeBron had an awesome stat line the other night, he had no lift whatsoever. He didn't have any lift in the finals either. And they said he obviously had hurt his ankle in preseason. So it's interesting. He's one of those guys that. You know, he's pretty much eluded the injury bug altogether. I mean, Jordan missed a season, Kobe missed a season. All these guys have missed a lot of time, and LeBron's completely avoided that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't know how long he can continue that. If he does, he truly is a specimen and a freak.
Yeah, but I think the Cavs kind of seen that, and they took caution last year where he took some games off and stuff. And, I made jokes and criticized him about it, but that's something that, a lot of teams should do.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, especially with your your main guy that has so much mileage between the NBA and Olympic teams and all the gyms. So I feel like it's definitely smart. But the Cavs got so much older that they're definitely going to have to mind their P's and Q's, and one or two injuries can really devastate their playoff chances, in my opinion. I don't think the Cavs. Everybody's talking like the Cavs are improved enough to compete with the Warriors. They're out of their minds. The championship's played in the West. Whoever comes out of the West is pretty much going to win the title, in my opinion. I didn't even put it on this list, so I apologize for that. But I was super impressed with the Sixers the other night. They could be legitimately an organic super team if they stick together. I mean, they have so much talent there. If they're able to stick together and they're able to avoid any more serious injuries, that's going to be a nasty team in 2 or 3 years.
Joel Embiid, I mean, he's a guy. When did he start playing basketball? He was like 16, and 2 years later, he was playing college at Kansas. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, really, when you think about it, he still, hasn't reached the level everybody else has.
No.
Even, he hasn't had a lot of NBA experience too.
And he, he's had so many injuries that shut him down. And it's incredibly scary for a big guy to have these foot injuries. I mean, it's ended a lot of careers. I mean, you look at guys like Yao Ming, the list goes on, that have ended their careers with foot injuries. And I think that's one of the scary things for the Warriors, because they have a plethora of foot injuries with Steph and with KD, which I feel like obviously more worrisome with KD than it is
most definitely
for them. So, you want to transition that to the Warriors?
Yeah, we can talk about the Warriors if you want.
Did you watch the game where they lost the other night?
No, I didn't watch it.
Yeah, I can't stand to watch them. It makes me sick to my stomach.
I like to watch them play. I don't
at all, because every time I watch, all I think of is, man, how awesome would it have been if KD had put that effort forth in OKC with Russ. And it just makes me sick, because I didn't like the Warriors anyway. I don't like Steph Curry's demeanor. I just don't enjoy that kind of class clown, thing that he does. I don't even know how to explain it.
People say that. I don't really see that, but I've heard some people say that. But I guess, man, he's got like this style to him. It's like, to me, it just seems like he's laid back.
Every shot that he hits, he's got to do a little dance, and he just, to me, I want killers. I want Jordan. I want Kobe. Even LeBron with his floppiness and falling down every time somebody runs into him, he's much more of a killer than Steph Curry. I don't want those guys. KD, for all of the bad things that I have to say about him, he's far. You saw it in the finals last year. He's a killer, and I just can't get behind a dude that is just relatively. He doesn't play defense. He shoots 3-pointers and he dances and he laughs and acts kind of clowny. And I just don't get it. I don't get the love behind Steph Curry. To me, I don't see it. And so I've always rooted against him, to that point. And then KD goes and joins them and tears my life apart. I just gave away my last pair of KD shoes, by the way. I'm looking at a pair of KDs on the bottom shelf of there, my wife's, that might go just missing at this point. That I bought her. But so I didn't watch it. I was surprised that they lost though. I expected them to come out and be business as usual, but
I was supposed to be off Wednesday and Thursday, and I had like this huge plan watching all the games that night. Those nights I had to work though, so me and I got called in, so it kind of sucked. But I fell asleep during the Warriors game in the middle.
I
woke up and it was like third quarter.
We had we've already talked about pretty much. The Cavs and the Warriors, and the Rockets obviously beat the Warriors that night. And I just told you right before we started, because I saw it refreshed on Twitter, that Chris Paul's already out for up to a month. So that obviously hurts the Rockets and up front. And in the West, if you miss somebody for a month, that's a lot of games.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're going to rack up quick, and home field advantage or home court advantage is going to be very important in the playoffs. So
as long as the Rockets may still be able to find a lot of success, but then again they last year, because they didn't have Chris Paul, they had Patrick Beverley, so that's a huge difference. So now you don't have him or Chris Paul. But James Harden's a guy who can do anything, so I wouldn't put it past him to.
Yeah, I think that the thing that they'll miss the most, and the thing that's been lacking from the Rockets the most, has been some type of firm leadership. Chris Paul's a guy, in my opinion. The Clippers were the first super team, and he wasn't able to put it together ever. I think he searched for a place to put it together, and I think he's super excited about doing that. So it's a bummer for him. I don't know that the Rockets can get the leadership that they need without Chris Paul being there, because I don't think there's as deep of a team now with the acquisition of Chris Paul.
Yeah.
So
they gave up a lot for Chris Paul.
Yeah, I feel like it could be. I feel like that they could be suffering in the short term for sure, without him being there, especially if he has to miss up to a month, and to have an injury already so soon. That's kind of a little bit worrisome in my opinion.
Yeah, especially with the two guards. They're going to need those in the first month of games anyways to build up chemistry.
Yeah.
That's a huge part of
it. That was a big discussion in the offseason too. Who's going to dominate the ball. Because Chris Paul used to touch the ball all the time. James Harden used to touch the ball all the time. Who's going to dominate the ball? And now that like you said, you're not building that chemistry. I mean, I definitely feel like that they already got some catching up to do to get to the Warriors level, and now, even more so with this injury, it's gonna be fun to see how that all plays out.
We talked about the Rockets, and we talked about the Cavs. We briefly talked about the Cavs. So moved to Oklahoma City. Did you watch that?
Did you want to talk about the Cavs more?
No, I can't think of anything else that we hadn't touched on.
I just think that I don't see where people are saying that they're better. I mean, I understand that they've gotten deeper, but when you can't replace an elite point guard like Kyrie Irving, who is so big in the clutch down the stretch for them.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care who they bring in there, and obviously Dwayne Wade is clutch, but Dwayne Wade is not only getting older, but he's also becoming more injured prone.
Yeah, he's missed a portion of like every season for the past 6 or 7 years maybe.
So, I mean, I don't see the Cavs as getting better, and I think that it's just going to put more strain on LeBron. And we've already talked about, kind of the need for him possibly breaking down. I mean, if that dude can play at that level every night and not ever get hurt, I mean, he is genuinely a freak of nature. I mean, so, interested to see how it plays out, especially if a couple guys drop here or there, how they're able to put it together. But I don't see them as being better. I think that they're very vulnerable right now.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see like Derrick Rose have a healthy year.
Yeah, it would be interesting.
I mean, you can kind of see him like even last year before he got hurt.
And I like
him
Derrick
getting
Rose.
back to form. And
I like
you can
Derrick
kind of
Rose.
see like flashes of like a game. He had like a few layups and stuff that he did, and some moves that he did that were just vintage Derrick Rose, and it kind of made you remember who he was before, and you're like, oh.
The one thing about all three of those guys, LeBron, Rose, and Wade, is that they all seem to be losing their lift. They don't play at the rim anymore as much as they used to. You see LeBron shoot more layups than he did. Obviously, Wade, with all of his injuries, he doesn't have the lift and the explosiveness. And then, what I've seen of Rose, he's pretty much shooting scoop shots and layups. I mean, he's not, jumping up and tearing the rim off like he used to do.
Yeah.
So, you can definitely tell that those guys are older. And there's so many times that I was about to pull my hair off at the finals last year because LeBron would drive to the basket and he just laying up and missing layups. And it's like, why don't you dunk the ball? You're 6'8". I just don't think he had the legs or the lift underneath of him to do that. And I can already see that again this year at this point. So, but I think that has a lot to do with the injury. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, but OKC, you said you didn't get to watch that game either?
No, I watched the first half of it.
Okay, so you were. I wasn't. I guess I sat down expecting to be blown away with those three guys on the court, and I really wasn't blown away. I mean, I think it's encouraging that Russ pretty much took the role of a facilitator, still got his triple-double. But I thought that Melo and Paul George both looked very sloppy.
Yeah.
But, I think Steven Adams is going to have to step his game up. I think he had a hard task in guarding Cantor, which he should have done in practice a million times. But he had a hard task in guarding Cantor last night. I hate that they had to lose Cantor. That really bothered me to get that trade done. I mean, I guess it is what it is, but it's been so much better to have those two dudes down low. But Roberson actually played good last night too. So I feel like that it's there, and it's encouraging that Russ was a facilitator. Yeah, they got a win that ultimately was easy, but it was against the Knicks. It wasn't against.
Yeah, I was seeing there was some I think it was the second quarter. Russ was kind of like you were saying facilitating off to Carmelo, Paul George. And they would get the funks where they would miss like every shot they'd take, and then Russ would just take back over.
Yeah,
he'd say, "All right."
Yeah, he needs.
It's Russ time.
He needs to take better care of the ball too, though. He needs to understand that, going 100 miles an hour doesn't necessarily work for these guys. They need time to set up and get to their spots to shoot.
It could for George, maybe.
I think. maybe on fast breaks, but as far as setting up, like Russ was so far out from them, and they were going to catch up, and by the time they caught up, he was trying to do something crazy with the ball and lost it. I mean, he probably had almost double digits turnovers last night, so he was almost.
The whole team had 13 in the first quarter, I think.
He had a quadruple double last night. He had the turnovers. So I feel like it's something that they need to take care of the ball more. I feel like that the more that they get the chemistry with each other, and they understand how to move. Back-to-back plays, Russell's throwing lobs to guys, and you can tell that those are his guys that he played with last year, and so he's not really in the mind, and they're not all in the mind together. I remember having teammates that I pretty much knew what they were going to do before they did it because I played with them so long, and they're obviously not to that point yet, but I think they'll get there.
They'll definitely get there, and it's going to help, Russ out so much so he doesn't have to, have the whole weight, of the team on his shoulders. Like, he can defer to these guys to shoot for a little bit. If they miss, he can still take over anytime and beat a team, which is crazy to think that someone would be that good, but just the explosiveness he has, the way he can get down the court.
I think that they're the definite number 2 team in the West right now. Yeah. Especially with the Chris Paul injury, because when I look at the matchup of, who's the Rockets' 2 best guys, Chris Paul and James Harden, who's the Oklahoma City's 2 best guys, Russell Westbrook and Paul George, and I would have to give that to Oklahoma City because I think that Russell Westbrook's a lot better than Chris Paul is.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
And George is such a good defender that I don't think anybody can stop Harden, but if you can slow him down enough to be able to outscore him, then that's obviously better. And then you got Melo kind of factoring in there, which Melo can go for 30 at any point.
Yeah, which is good to have Carmelo in that role because he doesn't have all the pressure on him. He's never been on a team like that.
The best basketball he ever played was in the Olympics when he was in that role. So.
Yeah, he's never not been the main guy in his whole career. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, so all these talk about selfishness and all the other things that go with Melo, pretty much had to be.
Yeah, he had to be.
Porzingis was the only other, Porzingis was probably the second best option he ever had. And Porzingis
Mari the first year, but he got hurt that year, I think. Didn't he? Yeah.
He was dealing with injuries all nonstop.
And then that was the end of him.
Yeah. But Porzingis is just now coming into his own.
Oh, last night he had some awesome plays.
Dude, he's going to be so good. He's going to be so good. And I just hope that the Knicks are able to build around him, because they've got some decent young talent there, and they've got some, some older vets like Courtney Lee, but they're just not a very good team. But even still, in the East, you're one injury away from being a playoff team.
Yeah.
Even the Knicks, because you got Porzingis. Porzingis is going to win them a lot of games.
His footwork, just for how big he is, I think it was maybe Patrick Patterson that Patrick Patterson almost hit the floor last night a couple times trying to guard him.
Yeah.
He just did this back step thing. I can't really explain it, but it was amazing.
He's so versatile. He can go out and shoot threes or pretty much whatever. And I saw Melo try to do basically a blow-by move, and he just caught Melo and threw the stands. So he's so versatile. He's such a good player. I love watching him.
Yeah, it was fun watching him because they do play some Knicks games on TV, and I watched a few last year. But
it's a shame that Oklahoma City couldn't have hoodooed the Knicks a little bit more and got him out of that.
If Phil was still there, because didn't Phil not like him or something? Even though Phil.
They said he was pretty much a heartbeat away from trading him to Boston. Which, why would you ever trade that guy?
That would have been the worst thing in Knicks history.
Yeah, remember when they booed? When they drafted Porzingis, they booed him.
And people were like, "Who is that guy?" And I mean, because he's a European player, none of us here had ever watched him play.
Oh, no.
I had no clue who he was. And it's kind of funny how things like that work. We don't even, like you said, basketball seems just like an American thing, and you kind of forget that there's just, every other country's playing it now.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's so huge.
For sure.
And NBA stuff, is there anything else that we haven't covered? I think we covered about everything that's happened.
I'm sure as the season goes on, we're going to have a lot more stuff to talk about. Right now, since it's not really played out, we're pretty much talking about the cream of the crop here, which, Jordan said there's 4 really good teams and 28 really bad ones. So, that may end up how it is, but I think a lot of guys are going to play with a chip on their shoulder, and I think that this year can be a little bit more interesting because I think that teams and players are just sick of, the Golden State mindset or the Cavaliers mindset. I think that they're going to fight back a little bit more on that. And I think that the Cavs especially are a lot more vulnerable this year than they have been in years past. And, Golden State's always one injury away from changing things in the West now. And I'm interested to see how everything plays out with the Spurs. I think that it was a stupid decision for Chris Paul to choose the Rockets over the Spurs because I think he had a lot of input on where he went. And I think the Spurs are a much better team from top to bottom. I feel like the Spurs could give the Rockets problems. I feel like they're probably the 3 and 4 teams.
I'm sure that Chris Paul, the way they talked, he didn't want to play under a coach that controlled everything as much as Doc Rivers did. And Coach Pop's. But Coach Pop has a lot more success.
Yeah.
And he's more respected and.
Yeah.
he's more of a genius.
He's starting to get into political crap too, and he just needs to worry about coaching basketball. It was much better whenever he was giving 3-answer interviews and that was coming out with all these crazy political ads and stuff, and it's just unfortunate. But I feel like Kawhi's definitely top 5 player in the NBA, and if he can kind of blossom out and do a little bit better scoring, and LaMarcus Aldridge kind of snaps out of it, they're going to be a pretty big threat, especially with the Rockets being without Chris Paul right now. But I still feel like third or fourth is the best case for them without injury to Oklahoma City or to Golden State. So.
Yeah, I thought with LaMarcus Aldridge going there last year, they would be, just to destroy everybody.
It was just the resistance was futile.
I guess they still had a really good season, but it wasn't like what my expectation would be.
Yeah, whenever you're expecting a Spurs championship every year, you fell short there. So.
I guess that's it for NBA stuff. You want to give an update on hunting?
Yeah. So 2 things. Did you notice that Arby's is starting to advertise their venison sandwiches?
Yeah, it's a one-day only thing.
It's one day only?
Yeah, just a Saturday.
Gosh, now I'm going to have to go kill somebody like they did the Szechuan sauce or whatever. I have to tackle somebody just get I didn't know it was one day only. They had done a trial period with it, and they had got some pretty good reviews, and I knew that they were going to come out with a venison sandwich, and there's even talk of the elk sandwich. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. But I feel like if it goes well, it'll just be another thing for people that are kind of anti-hunters to be like, what do you need to hunt for? They got venison sandwiches at Arby's now. Which obviously it's going to be like everything else, full of hormones and antibodies.
Yeah, that's kind of the part I worry about it. Like, where are they getting these deers? Like,
they're just being raised like the cow.
Yeah.
And then, all these people that don't want you to hunt, they've never watched a slaughterhouse video, which is terrifying.
A lot less humane. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so much more organic to go out and hunt for the meat. This weekend is the muzzleloading hunting weekend, so it's the first time that you can kind of have a semblance of a gun in your hands. And we talked about kind of the week and being busy. One of the highlights of my week is always going out and checking the trail cams and seeing if anything new came in with the EHA going around, making sure my deer are all okay, things like that. Well, went out this week, and one of the batteries was dead on the trail cam, so I got one picture on it, and that was us driving away the day we put it out. And so that was heartbreaking. I'm like, well, I got another one. It's all right. So pull up to the other one to get the trail cam. 385 pictures. I'm like, sweet, And I truly live for this stuff. Going through these pictures, making sure everything's straight, making sure that there's nothing new that came in, which obviously changes our game plans. And the card wouldn't read. Put it in the card reader. It wouldn't read on an iPad or a Surface tablet. So I guess the card just went bad. So just a lost week in trail cam pictures. So it was a pretty big bummer, especially coming into this muzzleloading weekend, which is the first weekend that I want to spend pretty much every hour of it out there. So definitely be hunting in the morning, and then we're actually going to go together on Saturday night. So you pumped about that?
I'm pretty pumped about it. Last time I shot the muzzleloader, I missed a deer. I saw the path because he's the black powder. You can just kind of see like the smoke path. It's pretty sad. So I'm waiting to redeem myself. Yeah.
There's I don't have real high expectations. This is my third muzzleloading season, I believe, and maybe seen 2 or 3 deer total. The last couple have just been so warm, and especially this year, it's going to be 80 tomorrow. and 80 on Sunday. So just a big bummer. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we go out in the morning and I'm hunting with Bobby in the morning. He kills the giant. I don't know. I'm not optimistic, and it's like I said, one of the few things I look forward to at the end of the week is checking those trail cams and checking out how everything is. So it was a giant bummer for me. I want to do something a little bit different this week. I'm actually going to end it on a high note, but something that I saw that was kind of alarming that I consider, obviously very sad, was that Kentucky was ranked number 3 in overdose deaths. So we're actually behind West Virginia, which to me that makes sense, and New Hampshire, which didn't make sense. But man, that was pretty alarming to me. I would assume that probably most of those are probably heroin. Is that what you think?
I would be almost, I'd say about 80, 90, I'd say 90% would have to be heroin.
Yeah, and you kind of hear things, I guess, and you don't really think about them at the time, but then you bring them back whenever something like this comes up. But have you heard the commercial on the radio where it's the mom calling in?
Yeah, Governor Bevin, that commercial he did about
yeah. So, obviously living in a small town USA, it's touched all of our lives, and I don't really know what the answer is, but we talked about different things, and I really don't know what it is. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how we address it.
You don't want to coddle these people, give them free needles, give them free everything, and just let them just die themselves, but in a safe way. That's what it seems like that they're doing with needle exchanges and stuff. Because there's no, when you start heroin, I don't think there's an end point besides death. Like, I mean, you might get lucky and go to rehab and not relapse and live the rest of your life out, but I don't know, it just seems like it's promoting. I'm not a huge fan of the needle exchanges, but like you said, what else can we do? They've spent, our generation, we went through DARE and stuff like that, where government poured money into drug prevention, but
it always just resounded with me, and I've had family members, and I know that you've had people close to you that have had all their issues as well. I mean, it seems like everybody in the city knows somebody that has had some type of drug issues, and I just feel like it's something that we definitely need to address, and we've been given the platform with this podcast to do so, and eventually may have somebody that come on that has had the problems, because that number really hit me hard. And we talked about marijuana being up for vote, and the likelihood of it becoming medical or recreational use in Kentucky is pretty low, and I don't think that it really addresses this in any way, because I don't think anybody's going to go from heroin to marijuana just because it's legal.
Yeah.
It's just a completely different beast. So
yeah.
But do you think that by having marijuana legal and out there, as opposed to pain pills, which is a giant problem in Kentucky as well, obviously not as much with overdose, but do you think that would keep people from getting to that level of heroin?
Well, I don't think that would, do anything, but but I think that too it could help. I'm not a doctor, so I don't know this. So, this is speculation that maybe, because people are trying to get off opiate addiction, they'll do some kind of or Suboxone or some kind of something that blocks your
receptors.
Maybe if you replace something like that with marijuana, maybe that would be a better option, because people that are on Suboxone, I mean, that's a drug too. I mean, and you're on it and you have to take it. There's people that go sell it illegally, and there's people that never get off of it.
Yeah.
And there's some people, where we pay the tab for, this stuff like that.
Yeah, I actually have heard of instances where people were cut off at the methadone clinic. I guess there's a time restriction on these things, or amount or something, but people being cut off and going to different states to get it.
Yeah.
So that's how powerful it is, and I feel like it's something that we just kind of sweep under the rug and make it a black and white issue, and I feel like it's far more than a black and white issue. And maybe it's something we can we can do with this platform of the podcast and talk about it a little bit more, because, like I said, that really hit me hard, and I'm sure it would hit me even harder if I was personally affected by it. So, but getting away from the sad side of things, and I'd like to try to end these on positive, uplifting notes from now on. On the low end of the positive, uplifting spectrum, did you see that Tiger Woods was actually taking swings again?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah. So,
not a golf fan though.
Well, yeah, I understand that. But I feel like Tiger Woods almost surpasses just golf, and he just brings so many more eyes to the whole sport. So I thought it was kind of promising to see him come back. I know that there's a lot of debate about Tiger, but I don't think there's any debate about him making golf better and bringing more eyes in. So hopefully he gets it all straight and back together and is able to come back to the game. And I don't watch golf without Tiger Woods. If Tiger Woods is playing, I'm pretty much watching. The only other time I'm watching is on a Sunday afternoon. If I turn it on, I need a nap.
Yeah, so I was about to say, it's good sleeping time. It's like a Browns game.
Yeah, it's good.
Look at a good Browns game.
Good nap material. And then I saw that Chris Long was donating his game checks for this entire season. It looks like everything that I saw was going towards education, which, we talked about the players that are protesting and not having anything to protest against, or not having a cause. And, if they were to talk more about stuff like this, that I feel like that it would really help their case. But I thought that was pretty cool that he was donating his game checks. I also saw that Deshaun Watson had given out, or I guess made sure that 176 people had got homes in Houston area. Yeah. And to go along with him giving his game checks away to the ladies that worked at the Texans facility, I thought that was awesome. That he's helping the city out. It shows that he's not even a guy that I'm aware of even protesting, and he's going out there and doing a lot of good. And perhaps the NFL should, I'm not saying necessarily market this, but make it.
Yeah. Just like they do advertise, we'll see the breast cancer.
It's all cancers now, right?
I don't know.
I think they've changed it to all cancers now.
Yeah, I mean the NFL does a good job. You watch commercials where they'll have the terminal children, or even children going out to play and stuff like that. But like you said, they should promote their specific instances.
Yeah, it's a shame that we live in a world where something negative gets so many clicks and these positive things go under the radar. I saw that the Cavs had opened up Quicken Loans Arena for sick children and had like a dance thing. And I saw LeBron dancing with a sick young girl. And sports just needs a lot more of that, because these athletes, like we said earlier, they have the platform, they have the money, they have a lot of people paying attention to them, and I feel like that's a big reason that their viewership's so far down, is because everything's become negatives. It's just like the news. You watch sports news now, it's just like the regular news where everything's negative. They're not talking about the positive things, and all the positive things kind of get swept underneath the rug. So some just really cool stories that I saw. Like I said, I just kind of wanted to end everything on a high note today. So, did you have anything else?
No, I don't. Because I was trying to think of something, like I was going to go on a positive road, but I don't have anything right now.
I sprung that on you, so I'll give you a break this week. Next week you better be prepared.
I'm gonna have some very good positives.
Just don't make me cry on camera, okay?
All right.
So yeah. Hopefully we'll maybe have some success tomorrow night, and I'm sure we can actually shoot some videos while we're out there as well, because I've been doing some video blogs for my hunting channel. I haven't released any of them yet, but I thought it would be a pretty cool way to keep people kind of in tune with everything that's going on, instead of shooting a video and then releasing it months down the road, which we still haven't figured out how to edit it yet. So we still got a lot of work to do with that, but by shooting the video logs just on my phone and uploading them to YouTube and to, Instagram or Facebook or whatever, then people can actually see what's going on. So we can actually shoot one for the podcast and for the hunting channel.
Yeah. So everybody be aware of that if you're watching this.
Stay tuned to that.
Stay tuned.
And then the next time, podcast number 11, we're going to have Jeremy Gross on and talk about UFC 217, which is GSP versus Bisping. So I'm pretty pumped about that. I'm sure there'll be about 100,000 Friends quotes in that one, so you guys might want to polish up on the Netflix.
Friends is done.
What? Well, I guess this is David's last podcast. I'm glad that Gross wasn't here. He probably picked up the antlers.
I'm like, Sonnenfeld's better.
He would have picked up the antlers and went after you. So you're looking for your big antagonizing moment. There it was.
Yeah, heel turn.
But yeah, so Jeremy will be on next time. We'll be talking about UFC 217. I actually saved it. I finally watched. I was forced to watch the Eminem, whatever you want to call it, freestyle on Trump. So I was forced to watch it. So I actually saved that for next week to talk to Jeremy.
Because he's an Eminem fan.
Yeah, so he's probably got Eminem tattoos somewhere that we don't know about. But yeah, I'm gonna play the antagonizer on that because that was dumb. So,
I haven't watched it, but I mean, I'm not a regular viewer of the BT Awards or MTV Awards, whatever it was.
It was on a podcast that I was watching, so I was kind of forced into it. But I have some pretty strong opinions on it, but I want to save them from him, and then I'm probably going to hide this so he doesn't stab me. So save one side for you, one side for me after you make the side for the show. But we appreciate everybody tuning in. You can check out David on social media, David Morguson, or at Diamond Dave. Me on social media, Kellen Wimburn on Facebook, or at KY Blockbuster 7 on Instagram and Twitter. And definitely subscribe and check out our videos on the YouTube. I feel like a lot of those hold up. We've got a lot of different topics on all of those that are kind of spreading out. So everybody check those out and follow us on Instagram and Facebook as well with that at Double Axis Podcast. So appreciate everybody tuning in, and we'll see you next go around.